friends, Natalie Sideserf here of Sideserf Cake Studio, and I want to show you guys how I made this Poo Emoji cake. It was made for a 2-year-old. It was her smash cake, so she just dove right in, and she had, quote, poo all over her face, and it had to be super adorable. I wish I was there to see it. So what we have here is a bit of a cake blueprint, and the numbers off to the side show the layers of cake in inches. So we had a 6-inch layer, a 4.5-inch layer, a 3-inch layer, and then a 1.5-inch layer. I also use stencils as much as possible because it's a huge time saver. So for this cake, I started with a 6-inch round parchment circle stencil, a 4.5-inch, and a 3-inch round. You just want to place the parchment right on top of a cake layer, and then you cut around the edge of all 3 sizes. And don't forget to keep your scraps because we're going to use them later. Now that I have all 3 layers of cake cut out, I'm going to start by putting the 6-inch layer down first. Add a layer of icing. In this case, I used chocolate ganache, but you could use buttercream if you'd like. Next is the 4.5-inch layer, icing, and finally the 3-inch layer. The next step is to round out each layer. You want the edges to be curved and kind of bubble shaped. To create the swirl effect, you add diagonal lines to each layer. They're about 2 inches in length. Start with the bottom layer, and then the next layer, and finally the top layer. Round out the cuts the best you can. 1, 2, 3 diagonal cuts. Now we take the scraps of cake that we had left over from cutting it earlier, and you put it in a bowl and you just kind of crush it up with your hands. And then add some icing a little bit at a time. You can always add more, it's hard to take it away. And keep mixing it up until you get a kind of packing texture, so you can kind of roll it up into a ball and it stays in shape. And that is cake clay, and also how you make cake balls. To emphasize the swirl even more, we're going to fill in some of those gaps with some cake clay. The final 1.5-inch layer on top is just going to be cake clay. And that's because it's so small that it's really not worth your time trying to carve out a piece of cake when you can just use something as simple as cake clay. Form it into the shape of a Hershey kiss. Fill in those last few gaps. And now it's time to cover the entire cake with a layer of either buttercream, or in my case, again, it's chocolate ganache. Don't worry about being too perfect with this, you really just want to get the icing on there. I'm using a 4-inch offset spatula. It's nice and small, especially for a cake this size, and you can really kind of get into all those little grooves. We're going to smooth it out later, so just try to get that icing on there in the general shape. It's starting to look like poop. Refrigerate the cake so that everything sets. I'm going to use my trusty sugar smoother, which you can purchase online, or if you want to buy thick acetate, you can make your own. It's nice and bendable, so we can kind of manipulate it into that curved shape and just go right up the poop. If you don't have acetate or a sugar smoother, you can use your fingers. You just want to wear some gloves and go ahead and smooth out that icing. Sometimes dipping your fingers in a little water helps. Fill in any little bits of cake that become exposed. It's bound to happen. You just take your spatula and kind of fill that in and then go back over it with the smoother or your fingers. Smoothing out the icing takes some time, but you have to be patient because it's totally worth it. What's great is this layer of icing is going to keep the cake nice and moist underneath. Roll out a small amount of white fondant, and then we're going to cut out the eyes. I kind of eyeballed this, but you can absolutely make a little template, and it'll be a lot easier on you. Set them aside to harden just a little bit. I like to map them out with a knife so I kind of have an idea of where they're about to go. And if I need to carve out any little bit of cake to make it fit more properly, go ahead and do it. Yours is probably going to be a little different, so you just got to kind of wing it a bit. A little dollop of icing will make the eyes stick even better. There you have it. It's a poo emoji. So give it a try. I swear it's not so bad. And when you do, post some photos because I really want to see them. And use the hashtag SideserfCakes so I can check out your work. And also, subscribe to our YouTube channel below.